Welcome to Conquering FUDDD through Mental Fitness, where we explore what it looks like on the inside of staying connected and trusting yourself as you move forward through the messy middle of life. I am your host, Pennie Wilson, and today we're diving into a personal experience so that you can see how this works from the inside out. This experience revealed for me the pattern of what happens when I held emotions inside instead of allowing them to move through me. I felt self-criticism and judgment, but the shift it's allowed me to see was incredible. So last Sunday evening, I got some news that triggered me emotionally. What I noticed immediately in my body was this feeling of a washcloth getting wrung out. From my insides, my stomach, my heart, everything felt like it was twisting and turning. And I stayed up that night to talk to my husband and business partner, Kyle, about it. And that ended up making me stay up later than normal. So I didn't get up in the morning to work out, and the typical domino effect that pulled me off balance. Then all throughout the next day, I felt heavy. As I kept pushing through the pressure, it felt like my body was a glass of water. And these emotions kept filling up inside of me. First, they covered my stomach and then my heart, and then I couldn't quite notice what I was feeling, and then it covered my throat and I couldn't express what I wanted to say. Then it covered my eyes, and then things started to get confusing, and then it covered my mind, and I was just completely overwhelmed. So by evening, I went to put my 10-year-old daughter to bed, and all these emotions were inside of me, and I was impatient, I was frustrated, and I got a little bit angry with her. And as I was putting her to bed, I even swore, which I hardly ever do. And it made me feel like I don't like myself very much right now. The next day, as I finally stopped to process and pause and notice what was happening in my thoughts and emotions, the huge thing I realized was that the emotions aren't actually the problem. The problem was the fact that I was holding them inside because I was ignoring them and trying to keep going. As I was processing, I noticed that there were layers of deep fears that were revealed as I paused to look at what was really happening inside of me. It showed me things that I was afraid might be true, and it revealed layers of shame. So instead of allowing these emotions to flow through me and actually learn from my experience, I held on to them, which complicated the pressure of my life. So the pattern that surfaced through all of this is the pattern that I've seen in myself and others throughout the last 20 years of experiencing this work and teaching it to other people. When we feel these heavy emotions and we act in ways that we don't like ourselves, we start to have thoughts that make us think that something is wrong with us. When we react emotionally under pressure in ways that we don't intentionally want to. When we feel these emotions and we react, the consequence is that we feel shame for those actions. Just as I was feeling I didn't like myself very much, it was the act and the thought afterward that made me feel that I'm a bad person because of the way that I acted. But if you pause and look at it, what's really happening is the emotions, and holding on to that throughout the day is what caused me to be overwhelmed by the evening when I actually went to put my daughter to bed. So let me walk you through what that looked like. When I actually paused to notice what was happening, it was as if I stopped and sat by what I call the Kokoro tree, where I can look at my thoughts, my emotions, and the beliefs. What I noticed in my thoughts was that there was layers underneath what I was feeling. It was as if there was this surface emotion, this thing that erupted on the outside, but underneath what was bothering me was something totally different. Even the news that triggered me that evening wasn't the thing that I was really concerned about. What I had been thinking about and holding on to was the fears of how I'm showing up in my work, the fears of being judged, the fears of being vulnerable, moving into a new space that feels like I'm leveling up. The fears of being seen. And what it revealed was underneath this fear of not believing that I'm enough, the fear of failing, or the fear of being criticized or judged or bullied in ways that would make me think that other people thought I was stupid or crazy. These are all the default habits of thinking that I experienced as a child that still haunt me today. It's like there's a natural pull of gravity down toward the clouds. If you imagine that you are standing on the beach and you're seeing the sky, and over on the right side is this beautiful bright sun, imagine that that sun represents the desires of what you want to experience in life, versus the clouds are the fears of everything hard, heavy that are pulling you down. Those fears are the default thoughts that we experienced in childhood. And unless we intentionally choose to repattern them, they will constantly follow us. And these patterns will keep repeating. So where this shows up for so many parents, teachers, and leaders who continue to push themselves through hard and heavy things without even realizing it. They push through pressure and ignore what they're feeling. They ignore their body while trying to hold everything together. And eventually the overwhelm spills out onto those that we love the most. What I am learning through this pattern is that the point of all the things, the emotions, the experiences that we have in life, the point isn't necessarily even to recognize what's heavy or hard or to recognize what we desire. The point is to learn from all of our experiences. When you notice something triggering you, sitting by the tree allows you to honestly assess how you feel about it, what you think, and how to shift away from what you don't want to focus on what you do want. When I allowed myself to sit by the tree, I noticed those thoughts of being seen by others as stupid or crazy. And it revealed the deep layers of shame as the emotion and the belief underneath that somehow I'm not good enough to live my life's purpose. So that's the story that this pattern revealed for me. The story that keeps happening and showing up in different ways in different layers of my life. But the story is not the truth. The story is simply an echo of the past. The truth is what I choose to believe right now in my present experiences. So after going through that exercise of sitting by the tree and recognizing what I didn't want to experience and how it felt in my body, I began to shift it into what I do want to experience and what that looks like as I focus on my desired outcome. When I allow myself to focus on the past, it distorts the way that I see who I am and the way that I can show up in life. And what I chose to do in that moment was to shift into the identity of who I believe I am and what I desire to create. It's the practice of mental fitness, of intentionally focusing on what you desire while letting go of the heaviness of what you fear. So why does this really matter? The truth is, if you don't create your vision and intention of what you desire to create in your life, to create that bullseye of what you're focusing on, what you want to experience, and how you want to feel when you get there, the journey will hold far less meaning. And you won't realize your victories, your wins, and your successes along the way because you won't know exactly what you're going for. This experience taught me to focus more on the way that I want to feel. Instead of feeling that shame, allowing myself to believe and feel capable and to trust in myself, to trust that I have everything that I need inside of me, to trust that I am enough, to show up to be my best self for today. This is the messy middle. This is what it looks like to hold the tension between what you desire to create and where you are right now today. It's holding a space of belief so that you can keep taking one step at a time. Questions that help me to shift, if you desire to apply this to your own experience, are things like this. What am I feeling in my body? What thoughts are coming up as I have this triggering experience? And what does that cause me to believe about myself in that moment? You might also notice the layers that I was experiencing, that there was a trigger experience as if the proverbial straw on the camel's back, while there were other things underneath that were really bothering me. Allow yourself to sit with this so you can recognize what is in the clouds, what's pulling you down, what feels heavy, and then choose to remove what you don't want and replace it with what you do want. When you notice what you're experiencing that's heavy, ask yourself, what do I desire to experience instead? And when you think about that desired outcome, imagine it in the future, being there in the present moment. Feel it in your body. What do you want to experience? What would feel amazing and joyful? What would help you to feel in alignment with what you want to create so that you can feel that victory, the yes, the wins? That's what we're going for. We're going for that feeling of flow, of joy, so that when we have these life's experiences, we can have these moments where something triggers us and we can look at it and we can learn from it and then let it go. That's the purpose of life, right? So we can learn and grow and then get to a place where we're contributing and making a difference in the world by using our unique gifts, by living our purpose. So as we're reflecting back on my personal experience, I invite you to reflect on your personal experience, your triggering moments. What was the thing that happened and what are you learning from it? What I've learned from this experience is that the emotions that triggered me and the overwhelm itself is a signal inviting me to look at what is inside of me, of those echoes from the past, the beliefs that I'm afraid might be true, but really aren't who I am. And then shifting it into that person that I truly believe I am, the person I am becoming, and intentionally believing that and seeing it and visualizing it. That is a choice to focus on the clouds or the sun. And that's what mental fitness is all about. Focusing more and more on what you desire while you let go of what you fear. Living life this way allows us to learn from all of our experiences, to stay connected to who we truly are, and to stay calm in the middle of the pressure of life. What we learn through all of this is that emotions happen so that we can learn from them. And when we notice what's happening and we shift into believing what we want to believe, we can truly stay calm under pressure, regardless of the outside circumstances. Because what you believe about who you are and the way you show up in the world is what matters most. So the next time you find yourself getting emotionally triggered by whatever experience is outside in your outer world, I invite you to pause and sit by the Kokoro tree and notice what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you believe about yourself in that moment. Let go of what you fear. Remove those beliefs by letting them go and intentionally choosing to replace them with what you want to believe. And reimagining the life that you want to experience that will bring you joy, that will allow you to live your purpose. The biggest takeaway that I've had from all of this is that those feelings in the clouds and the storms as they swirled inside of me felt very heavy and almost even permanent. But once I was able to shift them, I realized that they are not the things stopping me. They're actually helping me to reframe and shift and look at what I want to experience. Even those clouds, the heaviness, those became the catalyst of what's helping me to move forward to what I want to create. No matter what you're experiencing in life, you can use it to learn and become your best self. This allows us to recognize that the painful experiences that we have point us toward growth and help us to let go of shame. And those experiences that trigger us often reveal something deeper within that we're ready to let go and release and recreate what we truly desire. So we can move into a place of healing and self-trust, clarity and growth. A lot of adults were never actually taught how to train for calmness, self-trust, and to maintain emotional steadiness under pressure. That's what we explore here each week through mental fitness principles and real-life application. If this episode resonated with you and you would like to keep connecting and learning with us weekly, I would love for you to subscribe and follow the podcast as we continue learning together each week. And if you're curious to learn more about the 4-stage Kokoro journey, I invite you to take the 3-minute quiz on the front of our website at kokorocreators.com. That's Kokoro creators.com. And I'll put a link in the show notes below. One final thought to leave you with is that your voice matters and you matter. Through mental fitness training, you can learn to trust yourself, to move forward with confidence, one step at a time, even in the messy middle of life. To your victory, Pennie.